There's this moment that happens to almost everyone who gets into Bitcoin. You're scrolling through Twitter at midnight. Someone just posted a screenshot. They turned $3,000 into $47,000 in 6 weeks. You feel it, that flutter in your chest, half excitement, half shame, because you've been watching Bitcoin for 2 years. You almost bought at 15,000, then at 22, then at 31, and now it's at 68 and climbing. You tell yourself you missed it, that you're too late, that the big money's already been made. And so you do nothing. Again, or worse, you panic buy at the peak, watch it crash, and sell at a loss just to stop the bleeding. Most people think Bitcoin is about timing the market, about catching the wave at exactly the right moment. But that's not actually how people build wealth with it. See, the ones who made life-changing money from Bitcoin didn't get lucky with timing. They got disciplined with a strategy so boring, most people scroll right past it. It's called dollar cost averaging, DCA for short. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds like something your dad's financial advisor would say. Not exactly the revolutionary insight you came here for. But here's the thing nobody tells you. The strategy isn't what makes you wealthy. It's the psychology the strategy creates. DCA doesn't just grow your Bitcoin stack, it rewires how you think about money, risk, and the future. I'm Zik. And what I'm about to show you isn't a get-rich scheme. It's the invisible mechanism that separates people who own some Bitcoin from people whose lives actually changed because of it. Here's how it works. Instead of trying to time the market, which even professionals fail at, you buy a fixed dollar amount of Bitcoin at regular intervals. Every week, every 2 weeks, every month, doesn't matter. Let's say you commit to $100 every 2 weeks. When Bitcoin's expensive, you get less of it. When it's cheap, you get more. Over time, you average out the volatility. Simple, right? But here's what actually happens. At first, it feels pointless. You're buying 0.0015 Bitcoin. That's not even a whole coin. It's barely anything. But around month 6, something shifts. You stop checking the price every morning. You stop feeling that spike of panic when it drops 20% overnight, because you're not all in. You're not gambling. You're building. And the shift isn't about Bitcoin. It's about you. You've crossed a threshold most people never even see. You've gone from speculating to accumulating, from reacting to designing. It's like the difference between running on a treadmill and walking a trail. Same effort, completely different destination. Let me show you what happens to your brain when you're trying to time the market. You wake up, first thing you do, check the price. It's up 8%. You feel that rush. Maybe today's the day. But you hesitate. What if it goes higher? 2 hours later, it's down 3%. Now you're relieved you didn't buy, but also anxious. What if this is the dip? By the end of the day, you're exhausted, and you haven't even made a decision yet. This is what psychologists call decision fatigue. Your brain is stuck in an endless loop of trying to predict an unpredictable system. You're not investing, you're obsessing. But when you commit to DCA, that noise disappears. You're not asking, is now the right time? You're just executing. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, the purchase happens. Done. Your brain gets that mental space back. The bandwidth you were burning on price checking and second guessing, that returns. You sleep better, you think clearer, you stop treating Bitcoin like a slot machine and start treating it like what it is, a long-term asymmetric bet. And here's the paradox. Once you stop trying to maximize every move, you actually start making better moves. Now let's talk numbers. Let's say you start DCAing $100 every 2 weeks. That's $200 a month, $2,400 a year. Not a fortune, but consistent. Let's run this over 4 years, starting in January 2020. Bitcoin's at $7,200. You're buying small amounts, watching the world fall apart during a pandemic. Bitcoin drops to $3,800. Your friends think you're crazy. But you keep buying every 2 weeks. No emotion, just execution. By December 2021, Bitcoin will hit 69,000. Your total investment, about $9,600. Your Bitcoin's now worth around 42,000. That's a 4.4x return, not from genius, from showing up. But here's the part that changes everything. You didn't just make money, you built a skill. You learned to hold through a 50% crash. You learned to ignore the noise. You learned that wealth isn't built in moments, it's built in months and years of invisible consistency. And now, when the next opportunity comes, whether it's Bitcoin, real estate, or a business, you're not starting from scratch. You already know how to think long term. This is where it stops being about Bitcoin and starts being about who you become. Most people treat investing like a lottery ticket. They want the outcome without the process. But DCA forces you into the process, and the process changes you. You become someone who can delay gratification, not because you're disciplined in some superhuman way, but because you've seen the proof. You watched your small, boring purchases turn into something meaningful, and now you trust the system. More importantly, you trust yourself. You stop chasing hype. You stop feeling FOMO when someone posts their win on social media. Because you know something they don't. The real win isn't the price going up, it's the fact that you're still here when it does. You're not trying to get rich. You're becoming the kind of person who builds wealth. Big difference. Here's where psychology gets interesting. Let's say Bitcoin crashes 40% in a month. Again, for most people, that's terror. They panic sell. They swear off crypto forever. They tell everyone who'll listen that it's a scam. But when you're DCAing, a crash is just a sale. Same event. Completely different emotional experience. You're not losing money because you're not selling. You're accumulating more Bitcoin at a discount. While everyone else is running for the exits, you're calmly buying. Not because you're fearless, but because you have a plan. Or let's flip it. Bitcoin doubles in 3 months. For someone who's been trying to time it, that's agony. They missed it. Again. But for you, you're up. Not as much as you could have been if you went all in at the bottom, but you're up. And you didn't have to risk everything to get there. Same volatility, same market, two completely different realities. And here's what most people miss about building wealth with Bitcoin or anything else. The small optimizations don't matter. Whether you DCA $100 or $120 doesn't move the needle. Whether you buy on Mondays or Fridays is irrelevant. What matters are the big structural decisions. Are you buying Bitcoin with money you need for rent? That's a disaster waiting to happen. Are you taking out a loan to buy more during a dip? You're gambling, not investing. Are you cashing out every time you hit a small profit because it feels good? You're sabotaging your own future. The people who actually build wealth with Bitcoin make one decision correctly. They only invest money they can forget about. Not money they don't need right now. Money they can psychologically detach from for years. Because if you need that money, you'll sell at the worst possible time, guaranteed. But if you've structured your life so that your DCA fund is completely separate from your survival money, you become untouchable. Market crashes? Doesn't matter. You're not selling. Market moons? Doesn't matter. You're still accumulating. You're playing a different game than everyone else. And that's why you win. Here's something nobody talks about. Once you've been DCAing for 2 or 3 years, something strange happens at work. You stop caring as much. Not in a lazy way, in a liberated way. Because in the back of your mind, you know you've got this growing stack of Bitcoin. It's not retirement money yet, but it's real. And that subtle shift changes everything. You're in a meeting, your boss is pushing back on your request for a raise. Normally, you'd back down. You need this job. But now, you hold your ground. Not aggressively, just calmly. I understand the budget's tight, but based on what I've delivered, I think this is fair. Let me know if there's a path forward. Otherwise, I'll need to explore other options. Same words you could have said before. But now, they land differently. Because you're not bluffing. You've got options. Maybe not quit tomorrow options, but enough that you're not negotiating from desperation. Your boss can feel it. That quiet confidence. And more often than not, they find the budget. That's what Bitcoin DCA gives you. Not Lambos, not mansions. Just the ability to stand up straight. But here's where people blow it. They DCA for 18 months. Their stack's worth 12,000 now. They put in 6. And they think, I should make some profit. Treat myself. I earned this. So they cash out 4,000, buy a nice watch, go on a trip, feel rich for a month, and then Bitcoin goes on another run. That 4,000 would have been 11,000 a year later, but it's gone. Spent on things they barely remember. Listen to me, your Bitcoin stack is not a savings account, it's not a reward jar, it's a seed. If you let it grow, it becomes a tree. If you keep pulling it up to see how big it's getting, it dies. I've seen this play out 100 times. People treat their first real gains like a finish line. They celebrate too early. And then they spend the next 5 years kicking themselves for not just holding. The discipline that got you here doesn't end when you see green. It intensifies. Every dollar you pull out of Bitcoin early isn't just a dollar. It's the future value of that dollar. Let's say Bitcoin's at 50,000. You sell 0.1 BTC for $5,000. Feels good. But if Bitcoin goes to 200,000, which plenty of serious analysts think is possible that 0.1 would have been worth 20,000, you didn't spend 5,000. You spent 20,000. You just don't know it yet. Now, maybe that trade-off is worth it. Maybe you need the money for something that truly matters. But most of the time, people cash out for things that don't. A nicer phone, a weekend trip, stuff that feels important in the moment but evaporates in memory, and the cost is permanent. This isn't about being cheap. It's about seeing the trade clearly. When you spend money from your Bitcoin stack, you're not buying a thing. You're selling your future freedom. Make sure it's worth it. Look, I'm not telling you Bitcoin will make you a millionaire. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but here's what I know for certain. The process of DCAing will make you wealthier, not just financially. Psychologically, you'll become someone who can execute a plan without constant validation, someone who can ignore the noise and trust the process, someone who understands that wealth isn't built in explosive moments, it's built in quiet, boring consistency. And those skills, they transfer to your career, to your relationships, to every other part of your life that requires long-term thinking. So here's my challenge. Pick an amount, $100, $50, $200, whatever you can genuinely forget about. Set up automatic purchases every week or every 2 weeks, and then do the hardest thing of all, ignore it. Don't check the price every day. Don't calculate your gains every week. Just let it run. A year from now, look back. You'll be surprised. Not just by the numbers, by who you've become in the process. Your future self is counting on you. Don't let them down. This is Zik. Thanks for listening.